Let's be honest with each other for a moment. Not everyone who smiles at you has good intentions. Not every kind gesture comes from a pure place. In this world, loud, fast, and filled with performance, we sometimes forget one simple truth. Not all threats come with warning signs. Some arrive quietly, with charm, with politeness, with consistency. But behind the surface, there's something that doesn't sit quite right. Now, before your mind goes racing, this video is not about fear. It's about clarity. It's about learning how to stay awake in a world that often rewards the unaware. How to trust your instincts without becoming cynical. And how to set boundaries without building walls. You see, the Stoics had a phrase, you can't control what happens, but you can control how you respond. That's not just ancient wisdom. It's a survival tool for modern life. Because here's the paradox. When you become more aware, some people will say you're overthinking. When you protect your energy, some will accuse you of being distant. But when you lose yourself trying to be nice to everyone, you're the one left drained, confused, and sometimes in danger. So let me ask you something. When was the last time you ignored your gut feeling because you didn't want to seem rude? Or downplayed a pattern because you thought, I'm just imagining things? We've all done it, and often it comes from a good place. We want to believe the best in people. But awareness doesn't mean suspicion. It means paying attention to what's real, not just what's comfortable. This isn't about labeling everyone a threat. It's about recognizing when someone's actions consistently cross the invisible line between connection and control, between curiosity and surveillance, between support and subtle sabotage. Because no matter how evolved or polite the world becomes, human nature still runs on patterns. And some patterns are warning signs dressed in good manners. That's why we need clarity. We need to know how to read the room without absorbing its chaos. We need to sense manipulation, not with fear, but with discernment. And we need to understand that protecting your peace is not selfish. It's survival. It's spiritual. It's stoic. The Stoics didn't teach us to avoid people. They taught us to stay grounded around them, to observe without judgment, but also without naivety, to be kind, but not careless, to give, but not be emptied. Because here's the truth. You don't need to live in paranoia to be protected. You don't need to distrust everyone to trust yourself. You just need to pause, pay attention, and when something doesn't feel right, not react with fear, but respond with calm, steady wisdom. So in this video, we're going to explore 5 subtle patterns of behavior, not to scare you, but to empower you, to help you stay centered in a world that often rewards those who blend in, even when they don't belong. This isn't about pushing people away. It's about pulling yourself back into alignment so you don't lose who you are trying to keep everyone else comfortable. Because in the end, the most powerful form of protection is presence. Not loud, not aggressive, but quiet, clear, and fully awake. And if you've ever felt that something was off but couldn't explain why, you're not crazy. You're not paranoid. You're just finally learning to listen to what your instincts have been trying to tell you all along. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the signs. Not to fear them, but to recognize them. Because when you can see clearly, you move wisely. And that's the kind of strength no one can take from you. Stay with me. Let me ask you something real. Have you ever felt like someone was watching you, but not in a movie kind of way? In a way that's quiet, subtle, hard to explain. Not everyone who notices you is dangerous. Some people are just curious. Some people care, but sometimes there's a difference. And it's not about fear, it's about awareness. We live in a world where sharing is normal. We post what we eat, where we go, who we're with. We check in, we tag locations, we leave digital breadcrumbs everywhere we walk. And most of the time, we don't think twice. But here's the thing, what you share freely can become someone else's strategy. Not everyone who knows things about you should. The Stoics believed in self-control, not just of actions, but of exposure. Epictetus once said, "Be careful to whom you reveal your heart," because vulnerability, while beautiful, must be offered with wisdom. Now back to the question. What if someone keeps showing up at your coffee shop, at the gym, at that one park you love, and at first it feels random, coincidental, harmless, but then you realize, boy, they always know your favorite drink. They seem to appear right as you're arriving. They've never asked you directly, but they seem to know what your week looks like. And here's a kicker. You've never told them. So how do they know? That's when it's time to pause and reflect. Not panic, not accuse, just observe. Could it be that you've been sharing too much without even realizing it? Could it be that they're watching more than they're interacting? In psychology, there's a term called covert attention. When someone watches patterns silently, collecting small pieces of your behavior to build a bigger picture. Not necessarily to harm you, but if their motives aren't clear, your guard should be. This doesn't mean every friendly face is a threat, but it does mean you need to be more mindful of your digital and personal footprint. Think about it. How easy is it for a stranger to know your routines just by watching your stories? How many details do you give away when you think you're just being open? Awareness begins with ownership. You get to decide what people have access to and what remains sacred. That's not paranoia. That's personal sovereignty. Here's a quick story. A woman I knew once said she felt flattered when an acquaintance remembered all her preferences, her favorite latte, her walking route, even her playlist. Until one day she realized she'd never told him any of it. He'd been watching, not once or twice, but over months. And when she pulled back, he became upset, like he had lost control. That's when she knew this wasn't curiosity, it was entitlement wrapped in charm. So what do you do? Simple. Tighten your circle, adjust your settings, sharpen your boundaries. Start treating your privacy like your peace. It's something to protect, not casually give away. The Stoics teach us that clarity is power. That peace is not the absence of danger, but the presence of discipline. So next time you feel something is off, don't brush it away. Your intuition is not drama, it's data. And when someone consistently knows too much, without your consent, don't explain it away. Trust your gut, guard your space, and remember, silence isn't always empty. Sometimes it's watching. Stay sharp and stay sovereign. Let me ask you a question that might hit close to home. Have you ever felt like something was off, not because someone attacked you directly, but because people around you started acting different? Maybe someone you used to talk to now keeps their distance. Maybe a coworker looks at you like they know something you don't. No one said anything, but somehow something's changed. That shift, quiet, indirect, almost invisible, is often how manipulation begins, not through confrontation, but through suggestion. It starts small, a vague comment here, a concerned remark there. Someone says, I don't want to start anything, but I heard. They plant a seed of doubt, just enough to make others wonder. They don't accuse you of anything outright. That would be too obvious. Instead, they whisper, they imply, and the damage, it builds slowly. This is what I call subtle sabotage, a quiet erosion of your character in the eyes of others. And it's one of the most dangerous forms of manipulation because it's hard to trace and even harder to prove. But here's the truth that the Stoics knew long ago. You are not what people say about you. You are what you consistently do. Your reputation doesn't live in someone else's mouth. It lives in your values, your actions, your example. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are pained by external things, it is not they that disturb you, but your judgment of them. And it is in your power to wipe out that judgment." In other words, you can't always stop people from talking, but you can stop yourself from reacting. Because that's the trap, isn't it? You hear the rumors, you feel misunderstood, and your first instinct is to defend yourself, to explain, to correct, to clear your name. But here's what often happens. The more you talk, the guiltier you seem. The more you chase clarity, the more it looks like chaos. So instead of getting pulled into the drama, you do something far more powerful. You stand still, you live your truth, and you let time do the talking. That doesn't mean silence in the face of injustice. It means choosing your battles wisely. It means documenting what matters. And it means strengthening your core so that false stories bounce off the real you. Let me give you an example. A friend of mine went through this exact situation. Someone at work began quietly spreading doubt about her reliability. Nothing harsh, just enough to make people pause. Meetings started happening without her. Colleagues stopped asking for her input. She could feel her credibility slipping through the cracks, without knowing where the cracks even were. So what did she do? She didn't retaliate. She didn't confront the whispers. She doubled down on her work. She showed up early, delivered results, helped others, and did it all without broadcasting herself. Weeks later, the same people who pulled away came back, not because she defended her reputation, but because her consistency made the lies irrelevant. That's the quiet strength Stoicism teaches. You don't chase respect. You embody it. So if someone is slowly trying to reshape how others see you, don't let it reshape how you see yourself. Anchor in who you are. Live in alignment. Because no rumor has power over someone who knows their worth and proves it every day. In the end, truth always rises. And your integrity? It's not what protects you, it's what defines you. Stay grounded, stay clear, and remember, people can talk, but you choose what speaks for you. Let's talk about something that's easy to overlook, because on the surface, it feels good. Have you ever met someone who seemed almost too nice, too quickly? They barely know you, but suddenly they want to know everything. Your schedule, your family, your fears, your past. They're texting you daily, offering help, remembering details you mentioned in passing. At first, it feels refreshing, maybe even flattering. But then, something doesn't sit right. And here's the question I want you to ask yourself. Are they genuinely interested in you? Or are they trying to gain access to you? Now let's be clear, not every kind person has a hidden agenda. Many people are open, warm, and sincere from the start. But it's the sudden intensity, the rush into closeness without real foundation, that deserves a second look. Because trust isn't just about how someone treats you when they're present. It's about how much space you give them when you're not sure why they want it. Stoic philosophy teaches us something simple but powerful. Connection should grow with time and clarity, not pressure and speed. Seneca once said, "A friend is someone you trust with your soul, but trust must be earned, not handed out like a favor." So when someone steps into your life and accelerates the bond without reason, pause. Are they building connection or are they gathering information? You'd be surprised how often emotional manipulation starts not with conflict, but with charm. Because when someone wants control, they don't always come through the front door. They come through the back by becoming your confidant. And what do you do with a confidant? You lower your guard, you share your story, you give them keys to your habits, your triggers, your insecurities. That's why slowing down is so powerful. You don't need to question everyone's motives with suspicion, but you do need to give relationships time to reveal their true nature. A real friend respects your boundaries. They're not in a rush to get in because they value what's being built, not just what they can access. Let me give you a quick example. A guy I once knew became fast friends with everyone. He was charming, attentive, generous. He'd buy coffee, help with errands, listen for hours. People called him the best friend you never knew you needed. But over time, stories started surfacing. He remembered too many private details, used them when people disappointed him. He wasn't building friendships. He was building leverage. And when things didn't go his way, the charm disappeared. What remained was control. This is why discernment is essential, because sometimes the person who listens best isn't doing it out of care. They're doing it to study you. So here's what I want you to take away. It's okay to enjoy connection, but move slowly. It's okay to share, but choose wisely. And it's more than okay to protect your peace, even when someone seems perfect. Remember, a fast connection is not always a real one. And trust that's earned over time is trust that can hold under pressure. You don't need to be cold or closed off to be safe. You just need to be awake. The Stoics taught us true strength is measured not in how open you are, but in how well you guard what truly matters. So next time someone feels too close, too soon, pause. Not out of fear, but out of self-respect. Because when someone's loyalty is real, it won't rush you. It'll wait for your trust, because that's what real connection does. Let's talk about something that often gets brushed aside with a nervous laugh or a forced smile. Have you ever had someone say something to you, a joke, a comment, a gesture, that just didn't sit right? Maybe they said, "You know, if I were a little crazier, I could ruin your life." And then they laughed. Or maybe they brushed past you too close, touched your shoulder a little too long, and when you stepped back, they smiled, as if you were the one overreacting. Moments like these are easy to dismiss. We tell ourselves, they probably didn't mean it. We don't want to be seen as dramatic, so we stay silent. But here's what I want to tell you, that discomfort is not weakness. It's wisdom. The Stoics believe that our body and mind are deeply connected. And when your body tightens, when your gut clenches, when your chest gets heavy, it's not random. It's your deeper intelligence saying, "Pay attention. This doesn't feel safe." We live in a culture that often makes light of red flags. Someone says something off, and it's brushed off as dark humor. Someone crosses a physical boundary, and it's labeled just playful. But there's a line, and once it's crossed, even once, you have every right to speak up. Setting boundaries isn't rude. It's respectful. To yourself, to your safety, to your values. The Stoic philosopher Seneca taught that no harm comes to a person who knows what they will and will not allow. It's not about being guarded or cold, it's about being clear. Clarity is kindness to yourself and to others. Let me ask you this, have you ever walked away from a conversation replaying it in your mind, feeling like something was off? You might not have had proof, but your body felt it. That's not paranoia, that's intuition. And intuition, when combined with self-awareness, is one of your strongest forms of protection. You don't need a dramatic incident to set a boundary. You don't need to wait until someone hurts you to say, "This makes me uncomfortable." You don't need to explain your feelings just to be allowed to have them. Here's a short example. A woman I once interviewed told me about a coworker who always made strange jokes, lighthearted on the surface, but with a sharp edge underneath. He'd say things like, "You'd be easy to follow home," kidding, of course. At first, she laughed it off. She didn't want to be the sensitive one. But over time, her discomfort grew. She started taking a different route home, changed her routines. And when she finally brought it up to HR, others admitted they'd felt the same unease, but no one wanted to say anything first. The truth is, when you name the discomfort, you give others permission to do the same. And when you set a boundary, you draw a line between what you tolerate and what you don't. The Stoics never told us to ignore danger. They told us to remain calm in the face of it and to act wisely. So the next time someone says something that twists your stomach into a knot, don't laugh it off. Don't shrink yourself to keep the peace. Instead, pause. Breathe and remember, your safety is reason enough. Your peace is proof enough. Respect isn't just what others owe you. It's what you choose to enforce, quietly, firmly, and without apology. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is listen to what your body already knows. Let me ask you a question that might sound simple, but holds a lot of weight. Have you ever met someone who just seemed too perfect, too understanding, too available, too in sync with you right from the beginning? They always show up at just the right moment. They know what you're feeling before you even say a word. They laugh at the same things, agree with your ideas, echo your values. It almost feels magical. But here's what I want to remind you. Trust isn't something that should be rushed. It should be revealed over time. Because sometimes what feels like comfort isn't connection, it's calculation. Now, don't get me wrong, there are genuine, empathetic people out there. But when someone seems too tailored to your world, especially when you didn't invite them in fully, it's worth pausing. The Stoics taught us to observe not just how things make us feel, but why. Epictetus wrote, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." He wasn't just talking about self-discipline, he was talking about clarity. When we lack clarity, we often mistake compatibility for character. We see the reflection of our needs and assume it's love. We feel seen, and so we let our guard down. But the truth is, manipulators often move with patience, not pressure. They don't demand your trust. They earn it strategically. They observe, they adapt, they wait for you to hand over your vulnerabilities willingly. Let me give you a real-life example. A friend once told me about a man she met through work. He was helpful, reliable, and always seemed to say the right thing. Within weeks, he knew her routines, her struggles, even her dreams. She didn't remember telling him everything, but somehow he just got her. Until one day she changed her schedule, and he reacted. Not with confusion, but with frustration. That's when she realized he wasn't just connecting, he was keeping track. The danger isn't always in someone's actions. Sometimes it's in the timing. When a person makes a move only when your defenses are deed, that's not care. That's control in disguise. So here's the wisdom. You can be kind without being exposed. You can be generous with your energy without giving away your privacy. You can welcome connection while still protecting your center. The Stoics didn't teach us to fear others. They taught us to know ourselves well enough to set the pace of trust. So if someone enters your life and feels like a perfect fit before they have earned your story, pause. Not because you're paranoid, but because your soul deserves slow, steady, earned loyalty. In the end, someone who truly wants to belong in your world won't mind taking the time to build something real. They won't rush you. They won't mirror you. They'll meet you. And that, my friend, is what real connection feels like. Not just comfortable, but earned. Let's take a moment to step back and breathe. Not every friendly face is a threat, and not every rude person is dangerous. Life isn't black and white, and neither are people. The truth is, most of us are just trying to figure it out. We're navigating relationships, routines, and reality, often without a guide. And yes, sometimes we'll get it wrong. We'll trust too soon, or hesitate when we shouldn't. But this video wasn't meant to make you afraid of others. It was created to help you become more aware of yourself, more in tune with your inner voice, more discerning about the energy you allow into your space, more confident in setting boundaries. Not to push people away, but to protect the peace you've worked hard to build. The Stoics never told us to be suspicious of everyone. They taught us to observe with clarity, act with intention, and trust wisely. One of my favorite Stoic teachings goes like this. The wise man does not distrust everyone. He simply chooses carefully whom to entrust. You don't need to live in fear. You don't need to assume the worst in every interaction. But you do need to listen to your instincts when they whisper, something here isn't right. Because the goal isn't paranoia. The goal is presence. It's knowing how to notice patterns without jumping to conclusions. It's giving yourself permission to walk away, ask questions, or say no without guilt. And it's learning how to trust again, not blindly, but wisely. So wherever you are in your journey, take this with you. You can be kind and cautious, open and observant, empathetic and empowered. You don't have to choose between protecting your peace and keeping your heart open. You just need to choose who gets access and why. And if this video resonated with you, if it helps shift your perspective, even just a little, then I invite you to do two things. First, hit that subscribe button so you never miss a future lesson. Because the more we explore together, the more tools you'll have to stay grounded in a chaotic world. Second, share this video with someone you care about. You never know who's silently questioning their own boundaries or doubting their intuition. One message could be the wake-up call they didn't know they needed. Above all, stay steady, stay clear, and remember, you are your own gatekeeper. And when you live with awareness, not fear, you become someone no one can quietly undo. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.